The quiet weight of loving you. Chapter 1. Between pride and tenderness. Bangkok did not care who you were. It didn't slow down for the weak, didn't soften for the poor, and certainly didn't apologize. It swallowed people whole, chewed them up between glass buildings, neon lights, and expectations, and only the strongest learned how to breathe inside it. For Corwin Ratchasak, Bangkok had always bent easily. For Phim Fakorn, it never had. Corwin arrived on campus the way storms arrived. Announced without warning, impossible to ignore. A black luxury car slid to a stop near the main entrance of Bangkok University, its polished surface reflecting the morning sun. The driver opened the door before the engine had fully cooled, and Corwin stepped out, straightening his uniform jacket with practiced ease. He didn't rush. He never had to. People noticed. They always did. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Phones lifted discreetly. Corwin's name carried weight. Old money. Respected family. Power built long before he was born. He hadn't earned it. He simply inherited it. And he wore it like armor. His friends gathered around him naturally, laughing too loudly, matching his stride. There were sons of executives, A's, children who had never questioned where their next meal would come from. This was their territory, lecture halls, cafes, private study rooms reserved through connections. Corwin listened more than he spoke. His sharp eyes scanned the campus, calculating, assessing. Confidence sat on him comfortably, not because he was cruel, but because the world had taught him that nothing would ever truly challenge him. At least, that's what he believed. Phim had been awake since 5 a.m. He finished his morning shift at the cafe just off Succumbit, changed in the staff bathroom, and caught the bus to campus with damp hair and tired eyes. He arrived early, not to socialize, but because early arrival meant less attention. He preferred that. His backpack was old, the zipper slightly broken, but everything inside it was neatly organized. Notes rewritten by hand. Highlighters carefully rationed. His phone screen had a spiderweb crack that he'd learned to ignore. Phim knew exactly where he stood in the world. Scholarship student. Part-time worker. Invisible unless someone decided he shouldn't be. He moved through campus quietly, shoulders relaxed, steps measured. People often mistook his gentleness for passivity. They were wrong. But Phim had learned long ago that correcting people came at a cost. And he couldn't afford unnecessary costs. The campus walkway near the business faculty was crowded that morning. Students poured in from every direction, voices overlapping, laughter echoing off concrete walls. Phim held 2 iced coffees, one for a senior who'd helped him with notes, the other for himself. He was checking a message from his manager, adjusting his path instinctively to avoid collisions. He didn't see the sudden stop in front of him. He didn't see the broad shoulders. He didn't see Corwin Ratchasak. The impact was unavoidable. Cold liquid splashed upward, soaking into pristine white fabric. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Time slowed. Phim froze. Corwin looked down at his shirt. The stain spread like a bruise. Silence followed. Heavy, expectant. Phim inhaled sharply. I'm sorry. He bowed his head immediately, hands tightening around the empty cups. His voice was soft, but clear. Sensei. One of Corwin's friends laughed under his breath. Are you blind? Another leaned closer, inspecting the stain. That shirt costs more than your tuition. Phim straightened slowly. I'll replace it, he said. The laughter grew louder. With what money? Someone asked. Corwin finally lifted his gaze. His eyes met Phim's, and something unexpected happened. Phim didn't look afraid. He didn't flinch, didn't divert his gaze. His eyes were dark, steady, burning with something quiet but unyielding. You should watch where you're going, Corwin said coolly. Phim swallowed. I did. Someone pushed me. That earned silence. Corwin's brows twitched. His friends shifted uncomfortably. You accusing us now? One of them scoffed. I'm stating what happened, Phim replied calmly. Corwin studied him, really studied him, for the first time. The worn shoes, the tired eyes, the way his hands trembled just slightly, betraying nerves he refused to show. You don't get to talk back, Corwin said. Phim inhaled slowly. I didn't, he said. I spoke. The words were polite, The tone was not submissive. Corwin felt it then, a spark of irritation that surprised him. "Just don't get in my way again," Corwin said, turning sharply. His friends laughed as they walked off, the sound harsh and triumphant. Feem remained standing. He knelt slowly, wiping coffee from the ground with napkins pulled from his bag. Whispers brushed past him like insects. "Poor kid. Doesn't know his place. Why did he even talk back?" But Feem's jaw tightened. He finished cleaning. He stood, and as he did, Corwin glanced back, just once. Their eyes met again. This time, Feem didn't look calm. He looked furious. Feem's hand shook as he walked away. Not from fear, from restraint. He didn't cry. He never cried in public. He'd learned that tears invited cruelty. Instead, he buried the anger deep inside his chest, where it burned steadily, waiting. Corwin couldn't focus during his lecture. The professor's voice blurred into background noise. His friends whispered jokes, but Corwin barely heard them. His eyes drifted to the empty seat near the back of the hall. He didn't know why. He just knew that something about that boy had unsettled him. The way he'd stood his ground. The way he hadn't begged. The way he looked like someone who'd been underestimated his entire life and survived anyway. Corwin clenched his jaw. Annoying, he told himself. By evening, the rumors had spread. The scholarship kid spilled coffee on Corwin. He talked back. He's got nerve. Feem heard them all. He worked his shift quietly, wiping counters, serving customers with practiced smiles. When his manager scolded him for being distracted, he apologized without complaint. Back in his small rented room that night, he finally allowed himself to exhale. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall. "I won't be bullied," he whispered. "Not here. Not again." Across the city, Corwin stood in his penthouse apartment, staring at the city lights. His mother had called earlier, reminding him about family dinner this weekend. His father had sent a message asking about grades. Everything was as it always was. And yet, his thoughts kept drifting back. To steady eyes. To quiet defiance. To a boy who refused to bow properly. Corwin didn't know it yet, but that collision had changed the direction of both their
Episode
lives.
2,
And
Bangkok.
drawn in
Bangkok
silence.
was watching.
Attention was a dangerous thing. Feem learned that by the second week after the coffee incident. It started subtly, too subtly to complain about. Group project lists posted with his name missing, despite his enrollment. Messages about schedule changes sent to everyone except him. Chairs pulled away just before he could sit, laughter trailing behind him like an afterthought. He told himself it was coincidence. It wasn't. He felt it most when Corwin's friends were nearby. Their voices dropped when he passed. Their eyes lingered, sharp and appraising, like hunters circling something they'd already decided was prey. Feem kept his head down. He always did. But the campus had begun to feel smaller, tighter, like walls slowly closing in. Why is he still here? The question was tossed casually across the table at the private cafe near the business faculty. Leather seats. Soft jazz. Drinks that cost more than Feem made in a week. Corwin sat among his friends, fingers tapping lightly against his iced Americano. "He talked back to you," one of them continued. "And now he walks around like he owns the place." Corwin's jaw tightened. "He walks," he said. "That's all." "Exactly," another friend scoffed. "He shouldn't." They laughed. Corwin didn't. "You're being weird lately," someone said, eyeing him. "You've been quiet." Corwin lifted his gaze. "I'm always quiet. This is different." A pause. "You're not stopping us." Corwin leaned back in his chair, eyes unreadable. "Stopping you from what?" The table went silent. Then someone smiled, from reminding him where he belongs. It happened after evening lectures. Feem exited the building alone, headphones in, mind already shifting to his night shift. He didn't notice the footsteps behind him until a hand shoved his shoulder hard. He stumbled, catching himself on the wall. "Watch it," someone said lazily. He turned. 3 of Corwin's friends stood there. "No, Corwin. Is there a problem?" Feem asked quietly. One of them laughed. Still polite. "That's cute." Another stepped closer. "You embarrassed our friend." "I apologized." "You talk back." Feem's fingers curled slowly at his side. "I told the truth." That earned a sharp shove to his chest. "Careful," the boy warned. People disappear quietly when they forget their place. Phim didn't move, didn't flinch. His voice trembled, but only slightly. If you're done, I need to go to work. That surprised them. They'd expected fear, not dignity. The last shove sent him to the ground. Books scattered. Laughter followed. Phim gathered his things in silence. When they finally left, he stayed kneeling long after the footsteps faded, breathing slowly, forcing his hands to stop shaking. He stood eventually, walked away, and did not cry. Corwin noticed a bruise the next day. Phim sat 2 rows ahead in class, posture straight, eyes forward. The sleeve of his uniform slipped slightly as he reached for his pen, just enough to reveal purple and blue marks blooming beneath pale skin. Corwin's pen snapped in half. His friends followed his gaze and smirked. Oops, one whispered. Guess he's clumsy. Corwin's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Did you do that? He asked quietly. Silence. Then laughter. No, someone said. Gravity did. Corwin stood abruptly, chair scraping loudly against the floor. The professor paused mid-sentence. Corwin didn't care. He walked out. His chest burned with something hot and unfamiliar. Anger? Guilt? Jealousy? He didn't know. He only knew one thing. That bruise was not supposed to be there. Phim didn't tell anyone. Not his professor. Not the cafe manager who noticed his limp. Not even the senior who offered to walk him home. He had learned long ago that surviving meant choosing battles carefully. Complaints cost energy. Energy was a luxury. Instead, he focused on what he could control. He studied harder, worked longer hours, stopped sitting in common areas. When whispers followed him, he ignored them. When laughter cut too close, he walked faster. But something inside him was changing, hardening. It crossed when they touched his work. Phim arrived at the cafe one evening to find his apron missing and his shift reassigned without notice. The manager avoided his eyes. I was told you quit, she said gently. Phim froze. I didn't. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. You don't belong here. Learn faster. Phim's hands shook. This wasn't just bullying anymore. This was sabotage. That night, he sat alone in his room, staring at the wall, breathing shallowly. I won't disappear, he whispered. The next day, Corwin found him on the rooftop. Phim sat alone, eating a cheap sandwich, eyes distant. Corwin hesitated, then walked over. They went too far, Corwin said. Phim looked up slowly. His gaze was sharp. You didn't stop them, he replied. Corwin swallowed. I didn't know. You knew enough, Phim said calmly. But it's fine. I'm used to it. That hurt more than anger. Corwin clenched his fists. I won't let it continue. Phim stood. His voice was quiet, steady, unyielding. Don't protect me out of guilt, he said. If you stand beside me, do it because you choose to, not because you're afraid of what it says about you. Their eyes locked. Something irreversible passed between them. Corwin nodded once. I choose, he said. And for the first time, Phim believed him. Chapter 3. The Cost of Standing Tall. Bangkok University loved spectacle. Rumors moved faster than people, and by the 3rd week, everyone knew something was wrong. The once invisible scholarship student had become a topic of conversation, not because he was loud, but because he refused to disappear. Phim walked across campus with his head held high, even as eyes followed him. He felt them, judging, curious, cruel. The whispers came in fragments. Is the one Corwin talked to? Why would Corwin bother? He must be desperate. Phim didn't respond. He never did. But his body was tired. The late nights, the stress, the constant vigilance, it was catching up to him. His appetite was gone. Sleep came in fragments. Still, he pushed forward, because stopping meant falling behind, and falling behind meant losing everything he'd fought for. The presentation was scheduled for Friday. Group project, mandatory attendance, a full lecture hall. Phim arrived early, laptop under his arm, notes neatly prepared. He'd worked on the project alone after being quietly removed from the group chat. He told himself it didn't matter. He could still present. He always could. When his turn came, he stepped forward calmly. But the screen stayed blank. Murmurs spread through the hall. Phim frowned, fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. His files, gone. His backup drive, corrupted. Someone laughed. Soft. Deliberate. The professor's brows knit together. Where's your presentation, Mr. Fackhorn? Feem's throat tightened. He inhaled. It was here this morning. A voice from the back cut in. Excuses already. Laughter followed. Feem's hands trembled, just slightly. He forced them still. I can explain it verbally, he said, if you allow me. The professor hesitated. Before he could respond, a chair scraped loudly against the floor. Corwin stood. Every head turned. I saw the files yesterday, Corwin said clearly. They existed. Silence crashed down like a wave. Corwin walked forward, unhurried, dominant, eyes cold as he scanned the room. If they're missing now, it's because someone tampered with them. The professor frowned. That's a serious accusation. It is, Corwin replied, which is why I'm making it. Gasps rippled through the hall. Corwin turned toward his friends, the same ones who'd laughed before. His gaze hardened. Do it again, he said quietly, and I'll make sure the administration hears every detail. The room held its breath. No one spoke. The professor cleared his throat. Mr. Fackhorn, you may present verbally today. Submit a written report by Monday. Feem nodded. Thank you, sir. But his eyes never left Corwin. They met behind the building afterward. The air was thick with humidity and tension. You didn't have to do that, Feem said first. Corwin crossed his arms. I said I chose. You made enemies, Feem replied softly. Corwin scoffed. I already had them. Feem studied him, really studied him, and saw the anger beneath the composure. The cost Corwin had just paid. The lines he'd crossed. Why? Feem asked. Corwin's voice dropped. Because watching them break you made me sick. Feem's breath caught. That's dangerous, he said quietly. Caring. Corwin stepped closer. Too close. Then stopped making it impossible not to. The space between them burned. Neither moved. That night, Feem collapsed. It happened at the cafe, just before closing. His vision blurred, knees buckling without warning. The manager caught him just in time. Fever, she murmured, pressing a hand to his forehead. You should have said something. Feem shook his head weakly. I can't miss work. She sighed. You're not working tonight. He barely remembered the bus ride home. Barely remembered unlocking his door. He didn't remember hitting the floor. Corwin found him by accident. He'd gone to return the notes Feem had left behind after the presentation. The address scribbled hastily on a page. He knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Still nothing. A bad feeling twisted in his gut. The door wasn't fully locked. Corwin. Feem whispered faintly when he pushed it open. The sight of him, collapsed, flushed, shaking, sent panic straight through Corwin's chest. Hey, Corwin said, already kneeling. Stay with me. Feem's fingers clutched weakly at his sleeve. Don't leave, Feem murmured. Corwin froze. Then, carefully, he gathered him into his arms. I'm here, he said firmly. I've got you. Corwin stayed the night. Cold cloths, medicine, water coaxed gently between trembling lips. He sat on the floor beside the bed, watching over someone who trusted him enough to be weak. Feem woke briefly, fever-glazed eyes searching. You shouldn't, he whispered. I'm trouble. Corwin brushed his hair back with surprising gentleness. Then I'll be trouble too. Feem smiled faintly before drifting back to sleep. Corwin stayed awake. For the first time in his life, power meant nothing. Only presence did. Chapter 4. What the Night Reveals. Morning crept into the room quietly. Feem woke to unfamiliar warmth. Not the fever this time, but something steady. Grounding. A weight across his blanket. He turned his head slightly. Corwin sat on the floor beside the bed, back against the frame, one arm resting on the mattress. His eyes were closed, jaw relaxed, hair falling messily over his forehead. He looked nothing like the sharp, untouchable man everyone feared. He looked human. Feem swallowed. The memory of the night returned in fragments. Collapse, hands catching him, a voice telling him to stay. I'm here. Feem shifted, trying not to wake him. Corwin's eyes opened instantly. You're awake, he said, voice rough with lack of sleep. Phim tried to sit up and immediately winced. Don't, Corwin said, already rising. You're still weak. The word weak didn't sting this time. Corwin poured water, held the cup steady as Phim drank. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away. Corwin didn't leave. He cooked, badly, but earnestly. Checked Phim's temperature every hour. Texted the cafe manager himself and dared her to argue. Cleaned the tiny room without comment, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Phim watched it all quietly. You don't have to do this, he said eventually. Corwin didn't look at him. I know. Then why? Because I want to. That shut Phim up. K felt dangerous. Care meant attachment. Attachment meant loss. But when Corwin adjusted the blanket gently around his shoulders, Phim's chest tightened painfully. No one had ever stayed like this. While Phim slept again, Corwin stepped outside to take a call. His expression hardened instantly. You crossed the line, he said coldly into the phone. Laughter crackled through the speaker. You crossed it first. You mess with his work, his job, his health. Silence. Then, quieter, sharper. You chose him over us. Corwin exhaled slowly. I chose what's right. You'll regret it. Corwin ended the call. His hands shook, not with fear, but with rage. They weren't done. That afternoon, a car pulled up outside the building. Phim heard the knock first. Corwin froze. I'll get it, he said, but it was too late. The door opened to reveal Corwin's mother. Elegant, calm, observant. Her eyes moved from Corwin's tense posture to Phim's pale face on the bed. Oh, she said softly. So this is him. Phim panicked. I'm sorry, I didn't know. She waved him off gently and walked inside, setting a basket of fruit down. You look like you need soup more than apologies, she said kindly. Corwin stared. Mom. She looked at him. You stayed. Yes. She nodded once. Good. No lecture. No interrogation. No disappointment. Just acceptance. Phim felt something in his chest loosen. That night, the rain started. Soft at first, then heavy. Corwin sat beside Phim again, the room lit only by streetlight. I should apologize, Corwin said quietly. For what? For not stopping it sooner. Phim turned toward him. You did stop it. When it mattered. Their eyes met. The space between them felt electric. I don't like being protected, Phim said softly. I know. But I don't hate it, he admitted. Corwin's breath hitched. Phim, he said, voice low. If I keep choosing you, it won't be easy. Phim smiled faintly. Nothing ever is. Corwin leaned in. Close enough to feel warmth. Close enough to smell rain and medicine and something dangerously familiar. For one heartbeat, it felt like the world disappeared. Then Phim pulled back, just a little. Not yet, he whispered. Corwin nodded, respecting that nearly broke him. Later, after Corwin finally slept, Phim stared at the ceiling. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't afraid. But deep down, he knew. Peace like this never lasted. The rich friends wouldn't forgive. The campus wouldn't forget. And love, once named, demanded a price. Outside, the rain kept falling. And somewhere in the city, something ugly was already moving toward. Chapter 5. When the World Finds Out. It didn't arrive like a whisper. It arrived like a slap. By the time Phim stepped onto campus that morning, the air already felt wrong. Tight, electric, buzzing with something unspoken. Phones were out. Conversations stopped mid-sentence when he passed. People stayed openly now, no longer pretending discretion. His phone vibrated. Once, twice, again. Unknown numbers. Group chats he wasn't part of. Screenshots sent with no explanation. He stopped walking. Opened the first message. A video. Shaky footage. Nighttime. Corwin's building. Corwin's arms around him. Supporting, protective, unmistakably intimate. The caption beneath it made his stomach drop. Looks like charity comes with benefits. His hands went cold. By the time he reached the faculty building, the comments had multiplied. Speculation, mockery, cruelty sharpened by anonymity. People didn't just accuse him of impropriety. They stripped him of dignity. Poor boy. Gold digger. using his body to climb. Phim pressed his lips together and kept walking. He had survived worse. But this was louder. The administrative office smelled faintly of disinfectant and old paper. The dean didn't look unkind. That almost made it worse. "We've received a formal complaint," he said carefully. "Several, actually." Phim sat straight, hands folded in his lap. "They allege inappropriate conduct," the dean continued. "Favoritism. Abuse of influence." Phim nodded slowly. "I understand. What is your relationship with Mr. Ratchasak?" The question hung in the air. Phim thought of late nights studying alone, of working shifts until his legs trembled, of being pushed, mocked, erased, long before Corwin ever noticed him. Then he thought of hands holding his when fever took over, of someone staying. "He helped me when I was sick," Phim said evenly. "That's all." The dean studied him. "You know perception matters." "Yes," Phim replied quietly. "That's why I won't let this damage the scholarship program." The dean frowned. "What are you saying?" Phim lifted his gaze. "I'll withdraw from the semester. Voluntarily." The words tasted like blood. Outside the door, Corwin heard everything. Corwin didn't raise his voice. That scared Phim more than shouting ever could. "You don't get to do this alone," Corwin said, fingers tight around Phim's wrist once they were out of sight. "This started because of me," Phim replied gently. "It should end with me." "You think I care about the scandal?" Corwin snapped. "I care about you. And I care about you," Phim shot back, voice finally cracking. "Which is why I won't let you lose everything for me." Corwin stayed at him. "You think losing you is nothing?" Silence swallowed them. Phim pulled his hand free slowly. "I've lived my whole life being expendable. I won't make you the same." That night, Phim packed. Each folded shirt felt like surrender. Each book placed carefully into his bag felt like grief. When he closed the door behind him, he didn't look back. He didn't trust himself to. The fallout was immediate. Friends didn't pretend anymore. So he ran. One of them sneered in class. "Guess you finally learned your lesson." Corwin stood. "You leaked the video," he said flatly. Laughter. "You protected him. We fixed it." Corwin's hands curled into fists. "You threatened his livelihood. You chose him," another voice said. "Over us. Over your name. That did it." "My name doesn't mean anything if this is what it stands for," Corwin replied coldly. The room went quiet. "I don't want your protection. I don't want your approval. And I sure as hell don't want your money if it costs me my spine." He walked out and didn't come back. The bus terminal smelled like rain and exhaust. Phim sat on a metal bench, backpack between his feet, ticket folded and unfolded until the edges softened. Leaving didn't feel brave. It felt necessary. "Knew I'd find you here." Corwin's voice cut through the noise. Phim didn't turn immediately. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," Corwin said. "I don't care." Phim finally looked up. "You don't understand what you're giving up." "I do," Corwin replied. "And I'm relieved." Phim laughed weakly. "You'll hate me later." "I already hate the world without you in it." The rain started then, heavy, relentless. Corwin stepped closer. "I don't want a clean reputation. I want you. Messy, complicated, public." Phim's defenses crumbled. "I don't want to be your burden," he whispered. "You're my partner," Corwin said. "And if they can't see the difference, that's their failure." Phim dropped the ticket. Corwin kissed him. Not to claim, not to save, but to choose. The investigation took weeks. Evidence surfaced. Messages. Coordinated bullying. The truth, ugly and undeniable. Phim's record was cleared. The scholarship remained. Sanctions followed. Corwin lost friends. Lost access. Lost the illusion of safety that money provided. What he gained was quieter. Harder. Real. Bangkok never apologized. But it watched as two men walked its streets openly. One sharp-edged, one soft-spoken, neither willing to disappear anymore. Love didn't save them. It cost them, and they paid willingly. Together.